You remember the Cobra Kai motto?
Yeah, strike hard, strike fast, no mercy.
That's right. And it sounds a lot like the new Viper that 908 just dropped.
Yep. But instead of roundhouse kicks to the face, this thing throws the FTIR on ramen noodles.
Noodles. Plus, it has smart spectral processing, and it's going to sweep the leg and read the compound.
Yes, and it doesn't wear a back gi or yell at teenagers, which is nice.
Still, it's pretty badass, though. It's like having Mr. Miyagi right in your corner.
So check out the new champ, 908devices.com, for no mystery, for mystery chemicals. And in 2024, 138 hazmat responders in the U.S. were injured. That's 138 too much. Your team's mission is clear. Do your job, do it well, and get everybody home safe.
But in order to do that, you need training that works in the real world, not just some classroom theory.
Right. So work with the hazmat guys. A top-rated hazmat trainer by J.M. Powers in 23, 24, and confirmed 2025. We're bringing thousands of field hours, cutting-edge equipment, and fully customized programs built around your team and your location.
And it's not difficult to do this. There's 3 easy steps in a path towards zero-injury hazmat operations. 1, schedule a call. 2, tailor your training program to your needs. And 3, execute the best in-class drills on your turf.
Right. Slots for Q3, Q4, and actually we're started again Q1 of next year are limited, and rate increases have already happened. So secure your team's spot today.
What an incredible day out here in podcast land. It's beautiful in New York. Nice afternoon, breezy, 80. It's absolutely wonderful. And if you have nothing to do today, you should absolutely be checking out the Hazard Class with Jake, giving in-depth interviews on hazmat and emergency services. And while you're out checking out some new shows, check out Industrial Strength Hazmat Show. They focused on the industrial operations, which I have to say, as a first responder who didn't work in industry, it's really interesting to listen and hear a lot of what they have to say, because we end up going in and working with them when the shit hits the fan. So you might as well hear things from their point of view.
Yeah, actually, I'm currently, right after I'm done with the show, if you're an advertiser or you know somebody that's an advertiser, you want to get on these shows because they're organ basement, summer pricing, ground floor. Contact me, Bob at thehazmatguys.com, because it's going out hot.
Because they're seeing exponential growth. So you're going to lock in on low numbers now, but by the end of the year, the numbers are going to be spectacular. So
yeah, and join us for our monthly happy hour, 4th Thursday of the month. It's a 1-hour chat, no holds barred. And if you join the chat, Southernmost Hazmat Conference, you're entered into it, which is February 3 through 5, 2026 in Key West. You know, the summer sale is only a few weeks left, as I was saying. Get your Nerd 1, Nerd 2, Are You Compliant book, Building a Team, The Nerd, The Game. A million scenarios. It's amazing.
And if you're anything like me and you pay for gas out of quarters you find at the bottom of your car, you may want to sign up for some grant funding strategy for police, fire, and any other agency, to be very honest with you. If you want to get on that list, we will interview you, we'll take down your information, and when a grant that is appropriate for what you're doing pops up, we will reach out to you. So email us, info@thehazmatguys, and get on that list.
And next week, we're going to be at Mirion Connect and Virginia Hazmat, and I know we're doing Hot Zone, I believe, is the other one we just threw on the calendar. So, good stuff. So, continuing down the rabbit hole of DOT placards.
Yes. Classifications, placards. I mean, it's all the same, right? Today we're going to be diving into, I love that, diving into, now that AI is everywhere, everything's diving into. We're going to be diving into DOT Class 2, right? We did one. We have the explosive. That was an explosive episode. Today we're going to be submerging ourselves in gases. And under the DOT Class 2 are primarily materials regulated for transport. It's U.S. based, so if you're listening to this from anywhere else in the world, possibly Canada's got some similar stuff, so you guys could learn from that, but it's primarily U.S. based.
Now, the DOT, which is the Department of Transportation, subdivides Class 2 into 3 different subclasses, right? You have the 2.1, which is your flammable gases, like your propane, your hydrogen. Nice and easy because it's red. Red's fire. Okay, that's cool. Then you got your 2.2, which is your non-flammable or non-toxic gases, like nitrogen, carbon dioxide. Actually, you want to hear a quick one? Inflammable. If I told you a gas was inflammable, what would that mean?
If it was inflammable, that it is flammable only under specific circumstances?
No, it means the point. I believe it means it is flammable, and it goes contrary to what like English works for it. But it was a thing back in like the 50s or 60s or 70s, and it was so confusing to everybody. They removed it, but you might still find that placard out there, inflammable, because it's so old.
What would it be like? Non-flammable, inflammable?
Non-flammable means it's not flammable, but it's kinda non-flammable, right? It doesn't mean it's definitively not flammable. It's a weird thing, but inflammable used to be another word in this, and it was so confusing to people they took it out of the lexicon.
I could imagine because I'm confused right now.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me. English is so stupid. It really is.
And they got 2.3, which is toxic, right? Then that is your chlorine, your ammonia, and those types.
All right. So we have all of the same chemical and physical property hazards that is associated with that chemical and physical property. Because if you listen to Bob, right, we've got 3 separate categories. It covers pretty much every single type of gas that's out there. So the biggest add-on to this is the pressure, because these gases can be stored under compressed gases, liquefied gases, or possibly cryogenic, making all Class 2 gases under pressure, which is a whole different hazard that we now have to think about on top of the hazard that is associated with that chemical. Cylinders have been known to violently rupture when they're damaged or heating. The pressure and energy that's released can cause flying debris. Containment fragments can suddenly embed themselves into you. So that pressure becomes a significant hazard in and of itself.
Now, another one is the asphyxiation issue, right? And think about this differently. It could displace oxygen. It seriously pushes the oxygen up, right? But it also could push it out, right? Because it's expanding so quickly. So it could create an oxygen deficient atmosphere where you're standing right now. So like nitrogen leaks out in confined space. That would cause some rapid suffocation without any warning signs. You just get a little lightheaded and take a knee.
Yeah, that's it. And you don't even, a lot of times, we don't even think about gases as being asphyxiation hazard, and they won't say it on an SDS sheet because it's a small amount. So just remember, any gas that's not oxygen can cause asphyxiation, even if it doesn't specifically say it. Because we have things that are under pressure and things get cold when pressure is released, and we also have cryogenics involved, we have to be concerned about frostbite as well as cold burns. Cryogenics, liquefied gases, all those things can cause frostbite, honestly, upon contact of the skin. Liquid nitrogen, carbon dioxides are great examples of this. Even though it's not immediate, there's this whole thing, the Lindenfrost effect, which if you don't know, go look it up, or we'll have an episode on it. But it can cause some serious damage very, very quickly. In fact, we were doing a class up in, I believe, Duluth, and no, I apologize. I was teaching with a guy who taught for a fire department where the guy stepped in the ammonia. Do you remember the ammonia run that was circulating? It was at a facility, and the guy stepped in a puddle of ammonia. Well, this guy was teaching there, and he ended up doing a case study on that, he said, he's like, oh, one of the guys were like, hey, that was one of our guys. He only had his foot in that puddle for a few moments, and his foot received severe frostbite and burn, and he's still off the job right now and getting medical treatment for that, and that was a year ago.
Wow.
So
that's no good.
Yeah, be careful.
Another thing you can have is some reactivity, right? there are gases out there that react violently with other chemicals or materials. I will say specifically, like you, but like acetylene, which is flammable, reacts with copper and silver, and it could form explosive compounds.
DOT class 2.1 are flammable gases, right? So obviously we've got fire and explosion risks. Flammable gases, easy to ignite. They form explosive mixtures in air. The more common ones that we see floating around are going to be methane, propane. I can't talk today. Propane, methane, butane, and hydrogen is a huge one. Hydrogen in both compressed and cryogenic, it absolutely exists. Leaks in small enclosed spaces, they can reach explosive concentrations very, very quickly.
Now, depending on, the vapor density of this stuff, you could have leaks. And again, the vast majority of chemicals go down. So if you have a leak, you can create a vapor dense cloud that will travel to an ignition source, because it keeps, diffusing. And if that ignition point hits that ignition source at the right zone in the flammable range, it will flash back and it'll cause, an explosion. So like propane goes along the ground, and it could find a distant ignition source.
Now, BLEVs are also a large concern with this category, and you may turn around and say, wait, boiling liquid, expanding vapor explosion. We're dealing with gases. Where's the liquid coming from? Well, the liquid is coming from our cryogenics are stored as liquids, and our liquefied gases are stored in the container as liquids. Both of those have the ability to BLEVy when they get exposed to fire. When this happens, you have a massive release of energy, shrapnel, and if it ignites after the BLEVy, a tremendous amount of thermal radiation that can really burn from quite a distance. So we have to do things like recognizing tank bulges at flame impingements, vapor spaces. All of those things are critical to our response and our size up.
Hey, Mike, take a look around and tell me how many lithium-ion batteries devices you have around you right now.
We've got about 7.
Exactly. These batteries are everywhere, and most every department in the nation is starting to deal with battery fires on a regular basis.
We're truly excited to tell you about a new product that has been proven to limit and control battery fire propagation. It's from a brand called the Geo, and it is chock full of hazmat experts who know there's absolutely a better way for us, the first responder, to handle, store, and ship these at-risk lithium-ion batteries.
Right. This product will solve your lithium-ion battery problems. It's lightweight. It works across all battery types, and we can say it lives up to the hype because we tested it firsthand.
It's called ObexionFR, and it's part of a 2-part system. One part is a scientifically designed granular. The second part is the UN-certified payload drum. More importantly, ObexionFR is proven to reduce the toxic IDLH gases emitted when these batteries kicked off, so ultimately it's keeping your team safe.
To learn more, go to hazmatguys.dgo.com. That's hazmatguys.dgeo.com. So,
and as promised, we are constantly looking at solutions to the battery fires. Many companies have presented their products to us. Most of them we just kind of disregard as snake oil. But there is one noteworthy one, and it's noteworthy because it's actually extinguishing the lithium-ion battery fires. It works on multiple classes of fire, so it's not just a one-trick pony. It's going to prevent the fire from spreading, and believe it or not, the lithium-ion batteries, it's going to prevent them from reigniting.
Right, and before that keyboard warrior starts caps locking me for something with proof, the links in the show notes for UL's Class A and B, and as well as BSI's, which is the European for 10 category, including lithium-ion batteries.
We've put these things through the field test, and we were actually really impressed with the results. But don't just go off of us. Do your own myth busting. It's available in a variety of options to integrate into whatever process you're going to do with the lithium-ion batteries. You can access it by checking out Fire Suppression Solutions or click on the link in the show notes.
Right, and you can have a high-pressure jet flame type operation going on there, either from the place it's supposed to come out, like the valve, or a place it's not supposed to come out because it fell off the truck and it got dinged or dented or popped. And you can have a significant. Remember, that thing's under pressure, so it's gonna have quite the distance between the actual flame start and where the leak is coming from, because it's too rich, right? The LEL, UEL kind of thing.
It's got to mix with the oxygen to have this little party.
Yes.
All right. Hazard classes for DOT 2.2. These are our non-flammable, non-toxic gases. Now, with the exception of oxygen, this is where we turn around and talk about asphyxiation again, right? Nitrogen, helium, argon, they're all inert, but they can absolutely drop down those levels. They're going to be prone to accumulation in low-lying areas if that chemical is heavier than air. So kind of keep that in mind as well.
Right. And you could have physical displacement or rapid pressure release. These things can cause jets of pressure to come out, knocking personnel down or propelling debris. Even, I know it's such a small thing, but dust clouds, and it gets in your eye. I had this one release where it threw out so much freaking dust in a hole. It was in Manhattan, I believe it was, and the dust you couldn't see. And guys, we didn't have goggles. It turned out to just be compressed air, but the thing is like SCBA, you don't need SCBA for compressed air, right? But we had to wear SCBA because the dust was insane. So anyway.
Always things to think about, like side effects of stuff. It's that predicting behavior, right? Where you turn around and you go, okay, let me think about this a couple steps ahead as to what could happen. We talk about cryogenics that land often in this category. And we already talked about frostbite. I don't want to touch on that. I do want to touch on this idea of embrittlement, which when you have something that's super, super cold, like a cryogenic, when it touches material, it changes how that material interacts with the world. This is why our fire gloves and our boots, they're not great at coming in contact with cryogenics, because we can literally crack them and change the structure of that. So this becomes important because when cold temperatures hit things like metals, it causes brittleness, which means that if that cryogenic is touching another type of a compressed gas, that tank could actually become more brittle and could be susceptible to a rupture. Or the mounts that tank is on is no longer going to support that tank. There's a lot to consider when you have an actual cryogenic leak and that cryogenic material touches other things. We now have to increase our span of what we're evaluating to make sure that those items are no longer affected or are not an issue for our incident.
Next one, DOT 2.3, the toxic gases. This is the major hazard on this is the poisoning or acute, let's say, health hazards. So we could have, at very low concentrations, toxicity, right? And toxic means it hurts me. So chlorine, phosgene, ammonia, they can cause like respiratory distress or tissue damage or even death. So we want to kind of prevent the inhalation, skin absorption, and eye contact. Your eyes are huge sponges for chemicals.
It is your central nervous system exposed to the outside world.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's yeah,
Your
and
bones.
like teeth. Now, we often don't think of gases as corrosive, but believe it or not, there are some gases out there that can absolutely cause skin damage, eye damage, respiratory equipment failure, and structural material failure. Don't think just because it's not in liquid form, it's not corrosive. Two great examples of this that we deal with on a very regular basis are ammonia and chlorine, and they can absolutely corrode metals. They can damage your PPE. They can cause harm to your body. One or two breaths of either one of those into your lungs, and you are going to be a hurting puppy for a very long time.
Right. And I mean, obviously the environment, but you're in the environment too. So it's going to get you is that these gases, they contaminate air, water, soil. So like chlorine next to a waterway will just smoke the aquatic life out of it. I mean, it's a super bleach. it's crazy.
Right. It's going to turn the bay into a pool.
Right.
All right, so some special consideration when we're responding to these under emergency conditions. how do we want to act? How do we want to behave? What are some of the things that we want to think about? I always like to try to make sure identification is squared away right off the bat. And obviously, we have things like placards, containers, labels, and shipping papers that are going to help us specify the hazard. If you're an operations person, I absolutely recommend that you have that DOT emergency response guide with you. If you're a technician, you should be looking long beyond that DOT guidebook for how you're going to operate.
Yeah, and PPE, right? It's going to help you figure out the PPE. So we're going to do it on properties like flammability. It would lead me in one way. Toxicity, another way. Corrosivity, right? Because corrosivity and skin don't work well, so you might be upgrading to a higher level of PPE. So respiratory, all that other jazz.
Yeah, obviously SCBA. There's not a whole lot of us that aren't going to throw in an SCBA, but one of the things that we want to remember with PPE is with gases, this is quite often where we go into that situation as an instructor in a classroom. These are the chemicals that we like to pick when we're talking about PPE because it screws the class up, right? Because we've talked so much about, hey, we're going to protect ourselves from toxicity. Hey, we're going to protect ourselves from flammability. Now we're going to squish them together and you have both. How do you protect yourself?
Yes, I like that. Yeah, so with these, you want to vent and monitor at the same time. I mean, obviously, because you don't know if your event is effective. So you're going to watch the oxygen concentration so that we can operate, but you should be on SCBA, so that shouldn't be a big deal. But you want to check the gas levels using a multi-gas detector and get vent going. And with that being said, delay vent if there's a flammability problem or let's say an ignition problem, but ultimately you got to get the stuff out of that, right? So, I mean, if we're in the middle of a smoke break, wait. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're flipping on and off switches, maybe wait a second. Let's let it, the ignition sources settle and then move it.
Yeah, and there's techniques that we want to do when it comes to ventilating, right? We don't just want to go in there and start and start throwing fans in. There's definitely considerations for venting, but there's also considerations for evacuation. This is the category of substances that is going to spread out the fastest. This is the classification that is going to reach people. If anybody is going to reach people, it's going to be the gases. So evacuations and isolation distances, our shelter in place. These are the things that become top of our priority is how we protect the public. So your ERG provides great distances. If you're a technician, you want to start to get into your AEGLs to provide a good guideline for sheltering in place as well as evacuations.
Now, a little bit of the container size up for a high pressure gas cylinder, and we can have a physical deformation. So, but I will say, these cylinders that have high pressures, and I'm talking like the bullet-like ones, in order for you to dent or gouge, dent one, that is really hard to do. Gouges you can do that. You could do that. What is it? Gouge and what is it? Gouging? Oh, it starts with an S. Why am I? Gouging is literally moving the metal out, and the other one is like you're dragging a finger through sand, and it kind of parts the sand.
Oh,
scraping?
It's not a scratch.
Whatever.
I do know what you mean. There is a difference.
But yeah, so you can take metal out, and that's a problem because you got a lot of pressure pushing square inches inside, and you have less metal now to hold it in. That could be a problem. So integrity is going to be a deal.
We would see this quite frequently on low pressure tanks. Our acetylenes, our propane tanks, even our cryogenics, we can absolutely see the dents in the gouges. We can also see bulging and swelling. Oh man, we often will see bulging and swelling occur when we're doing a post analysis of a tank that's failed, especially one that was involved in fire. That's where we see the bulging and the swelling because all of this happens very, very quickly, which is definitely another thing that you want to think about, right? Like these high pressure tanks maintain structural stability until they don't. So they fail suddenly and rapidly. If you see bulging or swelling, you are already moments away from a disaster.
Right, and you can have bent or deformed stuff. There's a reason why there's that ringer on your propane tank up where the handle is, or you got the screw-on, the cap for high pressure oxygen or whatever it is, because that's the weak point. Like they know that's the weak point, so they're protecting it. So if you have that, you know there's been excessive force implied.
While you're doing your cylinder assessment, we want to be checking for corrosion and surface damage. This may not seem like a big deal, but rust or pitting at the surface could indicate a massive structural integrity loss within the container itself, especially if you're looking at low pressure tanks near the seams and the base, because those are where moisture and air tend to kind of eat away at the metal. The larger cylinders, the high pressure cylinders, tend not to have too many spots for the air and the moisture to get in there and do its thing. But corrosion can thin the cylinder walls and lead to leak or ultimately massive catastrophic failure.
You know, I had an incident with chlorine, and it goes into my thing. It was blistered or discolored paint. The chlorine had a small leak, and when you go from high pressure to low pressure, it makes the cylinder cold. Right? So you build up humidity, frost on it. Now, the small leak of chlorine added to the water made hydrochloric acid and started slowly eating away at the cylinder thickness. And eventually it let go. Luckily, it was pretty much empty at that point.
It was.
But yeah, so look for those, discolored paint, because the paint is getting eaten by a chemical reaction, possibly.
Now, one of the things we also want to check out on almost all tanks that we look at is the valve and connection integrity. Damaged leaking valves, these things need to be inspected. You want to start at the main valve for physical damage. You want to see if it's misaligned. Are there any kind of visible cracks? Is it loose, right? Because a loose valve can indicate that it's been turned. We want to listen and feel for signs of the gas escaping. And there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. We've got soapy water in a spray bottle, as long as the soap and the water are chemically compatible. That's a great one. Plastic bag method is a good one too, right? Like if you're going to kidnap a kid and you put a plastic bag over their head, we want to do the same thing with the cylinder, right? We put the plastic bag over the head. We tell it to not wrong circumstance. We meter under the bag to have the gases build up. One little thing to this is you have to be able to detect it with the meter. If you can't detect that gas, then that's a useless thing. You can also take the entire cylinder and submerge it underwater, again, as long as it's compatible with water. And this is a great way to do a rapid cylinder assessment, because any bubbles coming out are going to show right away in a tub of water.
Right, and check the threads, right? Thread damage. Most of these threads, I'm going to say a lot of the threads are brass, which is notoriously a soft metal. The really corrosive ones you'll see with like stainless steel. Okay, that's a much stronger structurally, but damage of the thread is a very common one, and missing or tampered with safety devices. This thing has this pesky PRD, so I'm just going to put some tape or drive a self-tapper screw into it, or, be careful of that and make sure that the locking collars are intact and undamaged.